Good morning. Welcome to our Friday edition of The Brew with our special guest, Paulina Likos. Today, we're going to talk about some of the S&P 500 stocks that have made a tremendous surge upwards in 2024. They have some commonality that Paulina is going to talk about. So let's get right to it at the opening bell.
Hello, team.
Still waiting for that little fade out thing.
Oh, come on, Max.
I know he had it before, and then it was I don't know. We just went away. Hi, Paulina. How are you?
Hey, Lex. Hey, Molly. I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Good. Well, another Friday is upon us. Two reasons I love Friday: A, we get to talk to you, and B, it starts the weekend. Unbelievable. Yeah. I was born for weekends. Just saying. Really good at them. All right, let's get into it. I know you only have a little bit of time. So I saw the notes, and interestingly, these stocks that you've found all seem to be from the same sector, more or less. Is that accurate? Tell us a little about these beasts.
Yeah, so let's put some of these stocks into the spotlight. These are some of the biggest winners so far in 2024. And interestingly enough, they're not in the tech sector, but they are kind of tangentially, affiliated with tech. In particular, no surprise, artificial intelligence. So these companies, they're actually in the utility sector. And a common theme that you'll see throughout each of them is that they help they provide energy to power data centers, which obviously is the key to powering artificial intelligence and their infrastructure. And we know that these data centers require a lot of energy, and these utility companies, they offer things like clean energy, nuclear energy, which are obviously huge beneficiaries of this AI trend. So with that, the first stock that has been seeing an incredible surge this year is called Vistra Corp. VST is the ticker.
Okay.
And the stock is up 160% year to date, and it has a market cap of 34 billion. And a little bit about Vistra. So it's a power generation company based in Irving, Texas. It provides the essential power resources that are needed for not only businesses, but also for communities at large. They say they're the most competitive electricity provider in the US, and they have a variety of different energy plans for residential, commercial, and industrial customers. So that's the first one. And, I would assume the number one question would be for investors, the stock is already up 160% this year. Should I get into it? Is there more room for growth? Well, what the street is saying is that there is promise for more growth within the company, and that is the data center play. So an increased demand for energy for data centers, that should help power Vistra's business because there's expected to be an increase in power prices going forward, and that higher demand for electricity should be a bullish trend for Vistra.
Okay. Vistra. Okay, good. Do you want to go through the three you have, or should we chat about each one?
I can briefly go through the last two. There's only three altogether.
Yeah, let's do them all, and then we'll come back in for a couple questions.
Okay, cool. So the next one is Constellation Energy. The stock is up 89% year to date, again, in the utilities sector. It's an electricity provider and also a gas supplier. So Constellation is known to be one of the nation's largest producer of clean, carbon-free energy. And it provides energy to millions of homes, but also institutional customers, works in the public sector as well. And they're also focused in their role as a data center supplier. And here, the company's focused, again, on data centers. That should bode well for the growth of the company in the future. Another incentive for investors, they have a $2 billion cash pile that they could use for share repurchases or a special dividend. However, Wall Street doesn't really believe there are near-term catalysts for the stock right now. So it could be a good chance with the stock up 90% year to date to take some profits. Okay. And the last one is called NRG. NRG, same identity here. It's an American energy company based in Houston. Stock is up 68% year to date. They deliver energy related products and services to homes and businesses and industries. And they're also a part of the AI boom here, and they're expected to further benefit from that trend.
Okay. Molly, do you know any of these stocks?
Well, there's some interesting tech which has been around, but it's getting a new flashlight on it, which is, to these data centers, they're having a problem because AI is just going to grow and grow and grow. I think the new AI that's coming out from NVIDIA is going to have a 30% higher, it's going to be 30% smarter than ChatGPT. So what does that look like? That looks a bit scary. So that's going to require a lot of compute power. So what they're looking at is liquid coolant. So you're seeing all these computers, you walk into a room and they're all underwater. And what that does is reduces energy. So I think that's really will play a big part. But, utility companies have always been a safe bet in a crazy environment. Everyone needs energy. It's not going to go anywhere until we, find some new tech. But I think this, your background, Paulina, this would be an interesting tie is with the real estate market is, this impending commercial real estate crash that's with maturity rates coming due. And a lot of talk about converting those buildings because, people are working at home and there's just too much supply, that converting those into data centers and what that will do to the grid. So what are you seeing on the floor there?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I don't think from some of the research that I've been doing that the current energy infrastructure that we have in place is sustainable for, not only homes, but also these businesses and industries that are going to require a massive amount of energy for these data centers if it's really sustainable. So I think that could be another area for growth because there needs to be a lot of investment and revamping of that infrastructure in order to, help sustain the energy capacity that is needed in the future. So those are my initial thoughts on that.
This is so strange because, you talk about AI connected with these utility companies, and it's weird because AI is now being used by the utility companies for, demand analysis and optimization. So AI, I can see once singularity occurs, like, push all your energy towards me and we're going to need it. And so that sounds a bit unbiased, but sounds a bit biased. So I don't know.
So
it's a really interesting,
Yeah. Sorry. Aren't these types of stocks in the utility sector, aren't they kind of boring generally? They don't really move very much. From my days on the trading floor, I remember we had a couple stocks like this in a few of our pits, and they were like yawners. Not very high implied volatilities. Don't really move around too much. And that still may be the case, but these are dynamic, unbelievable upside moves. I mean, 89%. I think you said 160% or something in Vistra, and then 68% in NRG. Holy cow, right?
Yeah. I mean, the utility sector is thought to, like Molly said earlier, to be the safe, play that investors aren't really interested in at any sort of time, unless there's a lot of economic uncertainty or maybe some conflicts that are going on. But I mean, this is the sector to be in. If you were in it, you obviously had incredible gains.
Right.
So I thought that's an interesting paradox.
Yeah, no, I love it. And do you know whether or not these stocks pay dividends? I didn't have a chance to look that up. I think one of them at least. I think CEG does.
Yes, CEG does, and that's why I mentioned their cash pile because they have the capacity to provide a repurchase and obviously all these companies, since they have these massive cash flows, they have more capacity to use their cash to give some of that back to shareholders, which is
Sure.
another incentive to hold these stocks long term.
Yeah. Which just brings me back to they've moved so much. Here's my thinking. I'm such a what's the word? I always fade this. So if something's up this much, I always think must have a pullback, get short. I've been wrong so many times with that thinking. But do these things have room to grow in the second half of the year? What do you think? I mean, this is I would hate to get. I feel like I missed the party already. It was a big party. There's a lot of good booze at it and great hors d'oeuvres, and I missed it. And now what? I'm the cleanup crew.
That's a fair point.
I wonder, with the interest rates, watching, every time those rates go up, it's hard to get capital. So someone with a big trunk of cash, sure, they can do a stock repurchase, but they'll be ahead of the game to put it back into infrastructure and build grid. And it's interesting that, years ago, for every $1 for a buyback, 6 was put into infrastructure to make the company bigger and stronger. And now it's, near $1. It's like a 1-to-1 ratio. So I think that I just see AI coming online in a big way, not to mention if there is any kind of grid power. I'm in California, so we feel it all the time. I think last week our grid went down, 3 times. So there is an overload. That's California. Yes.
Is that when your internet goes out, Mal, and you freeze on the camera and you don't move? Is that what happens in California?
That is the energy grid. And so, you see government will come in and, issue bonds to fund support for any additional infrastructure support that those guys might need. So I still think it's always going to be a safe bet.
Yeah. So you're bullish still, sort of.
I'm always bullish on energy. Like, fair. We need oxygen. I'm bullish on oxygen. I'm bullish on water.
Yeah. I find I don't do well without oxygen for very long.
Right.
I mean, just only for a little while for me.
And let me just say, because we've been experiencing this a lot in California, when the grid goes down, you forget the dependency. And so there's a lot of talk about the grid going down and preparing and bug out bags, get them ready and all that. So, but what do you guys think about that?
Well, I don't know. Pauline, go ahead. I didn't mean to jump in front of you there. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm not really sure how, what the consequences would be for the energy grid. And I don't know the differences between what's happening in California and other parts of the country. I know from even just your experience, Molly, that it's been a challenge. So yeah, that kind of brings me back to the infrastructure spend that really needs to take place, which I think is another investment opportunity to get into these companies ahead of that and benefit from that trade. For these, speaking specifically to these utility stocks, obviously they're highly overbought. The stocks are, significantly have rallied this year. I don't know. I think they could be due for a pullback given their massive runs, but not sure. Depending if you're a trader or investor, what the best move is. If you're a trader, I don't know, maybe like you said, shorting, I don't know, it could be a short-term option for a long-term trader if they like the fundamentals of the company long-term. Maybe wait for a pullback before buying.
Yeah, those are good points. Let me say a couple of things about the trading part of it. So Paulina made a great point here. You're either an investor or a trader, right? I mean, you technically give you a little bit of both, but traders tend to take short-term profits. Investors are in for a longer haul, right? So if you're a trader, you're probably thinking, well, this little pullback, and you could take advantage of, call spreads, put spreads, all that sort of thing. The one thing I tell people watching who are in the options market, if you're going to use a trade, is if Molly asks me now, what trade would I do here? My next question has to be a question and not an answer, because you need to tell me what implied volatility is doing in each of these stocks. And I want to make that point really, really hard here, that as options traders, if you're out there watching, you must understand implied volatility. Is it high? Is it low? Is it in the middle? If you tell me those things, I have different answers for you as to what you should do based on your opinion on which way they should go. So, if there's any takeaway relative to options trading here, it's let's learn about implied volatility. Okay.
Question.
Yep.
Oh,
go ahead, Mal.
No question on that. So, back in the day, volatility was where your opportunity was. Opportunity and risk are two sides of the same coin, and volatility with the lower barrier of entry and so many people diving in, and that volatility has plummeted. So do you see that ever coming up, Lex, or do you see there needs to be an evolution to long-term trading because there's less opportunity?
Yeah, you're talking about the VIX in general of volatility being low.
Yeah, in general, yeah.
Yeah, so volatility is lower, no doubt. I think with the election coming, I think and as interesting as the election's getting, right, with all the things that have happened over the last couple of weeks, I think we're going to see a little bit of volatility. So we're going to see some good dynamic down moves, some good dynamic up moves. That's what options traders thrive on, is that sort of movement. And don't forget, if a stock moves $100 a day straight up, it doesn't seem like it has a high implied volatility because it's going in the same direction, right? Implied volatility moving in swaths up and down and all around is where you get that price kind of fear of sorts, right? So market makers will start moving prices higher when things are really, really volatile in unknown directions, right? Either up or down, but not in a continuous pattern one way or another. They can handle that pretty easily and price it pretty well. So I don't know. I haven't looked at these. What I'll do is I'll look at these three stocks in terms of implied volatility. And maybe next time I'll give a little quick thought on whether it's high, low, or in the middle on these things with a trade attached to it. But this is good stuff. I like these products. Other thing I'd say, and Paulina, you touched on it, I think Molly, you might have said it too, is every one of these is committed to clean energy sort of technology. And that's important, right? Because, there's this whole save the environment movement going on. And I love the fact that these kind of companies are spending money trying to figure out a way to produce clean energy. I think that's good. I mean, look at who wouldn't want clean energy if you can have it, right?
Yeah.
And so with this recent Trump verdict, how do you think that'll affect the VIX and volatility in general?
In the clean energy space?
Just I think in any space, but sure, the clean energy.
Well, okay. Jeez, we haven't been together in a while. Our punches.
I'm so serious.
You're so serious.
Too hard.
I think it adds another little dynamic that is unusual and uncertain. So I think anything uncertain has volatility to it. So it should be kind of interesting. This could be fun.
A lot of money raised. Raised.
Yep, we'll see.
I will say though, from the background that I mentioned on each of the companies, obviously it seems that what's pushing the stock higher is the demand from data centers, but it seems that these companies have diversified businesses. They have demand from communities, homes, different, spaces. So, if you maybe investors are kind of just worried that one thing is driving it, but they also have other areas that are driving their businesses. Yeah,
no, that's a good point. I like that. These are interesting. Could they be the next NVIDIA? Who thought NVIDIA would be? I looked at it's 1100 and something, 1165. I want to say thereabouts. I put on a trade today in NVIDIA. Downside trade, very safe. I know what I can lose, but it's a little downside, just kind of a pullback play. That's all I'm looking for. A little pullback in the next 70 days. We'll talk about that later. That was fun. I know you got to go. Say, Molly, say hi, Paulina, and bye, Paulina. She's got to go.
All right. I will say on that NVIDIA play, I might be bullish on that because of their AI that's coming out. We'll see.
I know. I'm probably going to lose, but it is what it is.
Hey, will NVIDIA ever produce their own energy to back up their CPUs?
I feel like NVIDIA can do whatever they want at this point.
I agree. They're amazing.
Sherman Act. I don't think the Sherman Act agrees.
Oh, so Paulina, tell me the answer to this question real quick before you go. Relative to NVIDIA, I know we're jumping all over the place. How long ago would it have been where you could place $10,000 in NVIDIA, okay, for whatever the price was? I think it was maybe 10 years ago. I might be way off. And I was reading an article and I can't remember the number, but if you bought NVIDIA with $10,000 whenever, today it's worth 2.4 million.
Oh my God.
So is that 5 years ago? I don't even know. I have to look at the stock chart to see. But that's not that long. It's not infinity. Let's put it that way. Right. So it's 5 to 10 years. I think I'll have an answer for that too. I'll look on a chart and see when that would have happened. But that's amazing, right?
That's incredible.
$10,000 turned into 2.4 million.
And
Molly would have invested $1 million and then multiplied that out because she's just a player.
Thank you, Lex.
And it's important to remember that NVIDIA is an overall market driver too. It's become, one of the biggest market caps in the S&P, and it's been driving the overall market performance. So if you're just invested in the market, you're benefiting as well from it.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Good point.
Good point. All right, Paulina, thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thanks,
will
Paulina.
see you next Friday. Enjoy the big city over I hope it's a nice sunny weekend for you. So
thank you.
Good to see you.
You guys. Great seeing you too.
Hey, and a big shout out to that plant in your background. Waiting.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an orchid. It's an orchid. My mom got it for me. Thank you.
Lovely. All right. Have a good one. Bye, Paulina.
Bye, Paulina.
All opinions expressed by Tradier Hub contributors are solely the contributors' opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Tradier nor its affiliates and/or subsidiaries. You should not treat any opinion expressed by Hub contributors as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or to follow a particular strategy, but only as an expression of their opinion. The contributors' opinions are based on their own personal research, but neither Tradier nor its affiliates and/or subsidiaries warrants its completeness or accuracy, and it should not be relied upon as such. Any trades or positions discussed or referred to by contributors may or may not be actual live trades or positions. Such information is not intended to be financial or investment advice. Tradier Inc. is the parent company of Tradier Brokerage Inc. Tradier Brokerage Inc. and Tradier Inc. are separate entities with their own products and services. Securities products and services are offered through Tradier Brokerage Inc. Tradier Brokerage Inc. is an independent subsidiary of Tradier Inc. All rights reserved. Member FINRA SIPC.